It's a little while now that we have not posted a video, but it's not that we are gone from the scene. It's not that we have given up. There are quite a few things that we were tending to, laying foundations for some things, sorting out some things, balancing some things, quite a bit of activity. Many activities have been placed upon us, and we try to respond accordingly. But we are still in the business. Live ministry that I believe will help many who are looking for something better in this life and in the life to come. So here we are again, ready to roll, ready to go, ready to see what is before us. And one of the reasons I'm coming on this morning is that during the past week, my observation took me into various corners. I discovered quite a lot. I've talked with some people, and I noticed that there are some things that we still need to work on. We still need to get right. We still need to dialogue with one another. And the one that I'm working on this morning is something like this: your dependence determines your prosperity. Your dependence determines your prosperity. When I talk to you about dependence, it is something like this I'm talking about. When you are relying on any source, anything, any individual totally, and there seems to be no other way. All you think it's about that thing. All you draw from is that thing. I've seen women so dependent on men that abuse various things, and they still have to take them because that's how they get their sustenance. To rely on any other for your total existence is very well destructive. And when I talk prosperity, I am still aware of the fact that many are not quite there yet. Because when you talk prosperity, they seem to think that you're just talking about a big bank account. Big bank account is good in prosperity, but that's not all there is to it. It's not to have a giant intellect. That is good, to have a giant intellect. But there's much more to life than that. If you bear in mind as we work away, we talk about the total being, which takes in intellectual, physical, social, material, and spiritual. So when we talk prosperity, we're talking about development in all of these areas. We're talking about having a sharp intellect that will help you to guide through your physical existence, that will help you to be socially connected to the other beings around you, to be materially well, and to be spiritually sound. That's what we talk about when we talk about prosperity. So it's in the same context, it's in the same vein I'm talking to you this morning. Total dependence, relying on some sources, will determine how much you prosper or don't prosper. I discovered that many are totally dependent on themselves, dependent on self. Well, I told you that my week observation. I begin to look around and I notice that some people who depend on self, soon that self will fade away. The legs that used to take you around once may begin to be shaky. The mind that you used to get along might give way. There are many, many things that happen to the self. So you cannot be totally dependent on self. That is not to say you're not to have ambition and you're not to develop and you're not to think of building self. Self interest is good. But when it is, I am doing it, I will do this, I must do that, you cannot stop me from doing this or that because I am who I am. That dependent on self is not very good. And it has left a lot of people along the way suffering. It's left a lot of people totally dependent on others at point because they develop that self dependence. The I is too big. The I is too prominent. The I is too selfish. We need much more than that. Then, as I mentioned a little earlier, there are those who are so dependent on others that it robs them of real, genuine development and good existence. If they don't hand out to you, you don't eat, you don't wear, you don't get anywhere, that is not good. Again, I was in one of my classes at one time, and we were discussing one of my ethics classes, and we were discussing dependence and so on. And the question came up, well, why is it that some women, although abused, battered, destroyed, they stay in that situation? And some of my good students, they echo the sound loud and clear. That's how they get their food. That's how they get a roof over their head. That's how they get clothing. That's how they manage to get along in life. Because if they don't depend on those men, they are finished. That is sad. Don't depend on others. Don't just depend when you're of age. Don't just depend on father and mother. Don't just depend on children. Aim at having something for yourself. Aim at some good, just, real, self-reliant. And more to it, there's more to it than that. Then there are those who depend on government or some other organization and institutions, church even, to get along. If the government didn't hand out something, they are left stranded. If the church didn't give them something, they are without help. Such dependence is destructive, to say the least. Yes, we get something from institutions, we get something from organizations, we get something from this, that, and the other, we get something from others. But to depend on one source, not having the real strength to move upward or outward or where we want to go. It's not helpful. So we need much more in life than that. So the strength of my posting today is this. When we depend upon the master of the universe, then we're talking about real, genuine, lasting success and prosperity. The good book says, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. When we depend on the master of the universe, we're depending on an unchangeable source. For we're beginning to see omnipotent, all-powerful one. And if he's all-powerful, then my situation in his hand can be cared for and will be cared for in a powerful way. When we depend on the master of the universe, we're depending on omniscience. He's knowledgeable. He knows what is good for me. And some of the others you depend on, they don't know what is good for you. What is destroying you, they think it's good for you. They think that's what you really need. That's what you must have. When you depend on yourself, sometimes your very mind is telling you foolishness, telling you things that are not quite right. The heart of man is deceitful. So when we depend on the master of the universe, we're talking about dependence and omnipresence. He's present everywhere. You know, some people, they like you to think that they are the powerful source in that corner. And you can't shift, you can't move, can't go anywhere else. Master of the universe in the dungeons, in the fire, in the water, in the desert, wherever, he's there. And he's there all powerful. He's there with full knowledge. And he is there in justice, with justice, the just and holy one. He's not going to take what belonged to me and give to you. He's not going to take what belonged to you and give to me. And he's not going to call right wrong. Just and holy is his name. So when we depend on the master of the universe, we are depending on a source that will treat us in a just way. And not just merely in a just way, but a justice seasoned with mercy. He's merciful. And so we obtain mercy. He's forgiving. You know, you look at life, sometimes you have some people that has served them very well, but one mistake, and you're finished. One mistake, and you're no longer the good wife. One mistake, and you're no longer the good husband. One mistake, and you're no longer the good father. One mistake, and you're no longer the good teacher. One mistake, and you're no longer the good representative. No forgiveness, but with the Master of the universe, He forgives. He knows our frame. He knows our frailty. And so when we slip, when we do what we shouldn't do, or when we have left undone that which we should have done, He's there. And He's taking into account the total scenario. Just but merciful. And above all, we're dealing with a source that is wrapped in love. Says John, God is love. And that loving Master of the universe, He cares for our every need. He's sensitive to what will make us good citizens. He's sensitive to what will make us good parents, good children, good member of society. And He's careful about our future, what will shape our lives to spend eternity with Him. A loving Father. But I love this text so much. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. The everlastingness is His biggest concern. The temporary imposition came upon us because of sin. But God loves us so much that He has destined an eternity for those who believe in His Son who brought salvation. So today, I'm encouraging my fellow stewards, calculate your dependence. Sometimes to let go from one source, it will cause pain. But bear that pain. Go through that suffering and set yourself free. Depend on the source that will bring you freedom, real freedom in this life and in the life to come. Don't depend on anything, anyone, any organization, any institution so much that you cannot think for yourself. You cannot act with a great measure of freedom. That is destructive. And I've seen so much of it. Be wise and prosper today. Learn to depend on the Master of the universe, and you will prosper.